Hi friends, welcome in. My name is Shannon and welcome to my channel. Here on Shannon the Fifth, we talk about all things womanhood, from lifestyle and mindset, intimacy, wellness, and career. We talk about it here. So if you are interested in those types of conversations, then come on in, grab a seat, let's sit down and let's talk. Okay, so sorry about the glare. I notice, of course, when I'm editing these videos, we're still in the weeds of editing and figuring out exactly how this YouTube video situation is going to work. Okay, so bear with me. Bear with me. This is episode 3, so I'm making progress. I'm happy about that. But sorry about the glare. I'm a glasses girly. If I take my glasses off, my eyes will probably roll and cross. I don't know. So we're just going to see how this works, and we'll start playing with lighting to kind of make space for the glare. Okay, so I'm sorry. But I want to see you. You want to see me. I can't see you. But I need to see. I need to see to do this, even though technically I cannot see you. But that's besides the point. Today, we are talking about being in the awkward phase. And we know what the awkward phase looks like, right? So I have my notes. So, because like I said, I will go off on a tangent and we will be here for 7 hours and nobody wants that. So when you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes to kind of stay on target with this. Um, this is my third video, as I mentioned a few moments ago. And right now I'm in the thick of a pivot. I am pivoting in so many different areas of my life. And what I'm finding is right now, I just feel awkward. Um, that awkward stage, and I have locks. If you have locks, you know what I mean about that awkward phase, right? Where it's in the middle of something, it's trying to become something, and it's no longer what it used to be. And so you find yourself trying to modify things and make it work because you're not ready to let go of the familiar, and you're still uncertain with the unfamiliar. You don't know what you don't know. And so you find yourself, awkwardly navigating it. And right now I am awkwardly navigating this pivot. So if you're not familiar with my other 2 videos to figure out what I'm talking about and how I got there, please go back and check those out. But here's the gist of it. My career completely turned upside down and disappeared. I spent 20 years in the same career path, and I am no longer pursuing that career path. And I look at it as divine intervention, divine calling, and also it was just time to let that era go. And so what I'm finding now as I'm pivoting is I'm slowly getting out of that grief stage, and I'm really starting to dive into my next career path. But it's awkward because I can't call myself the thing that I want to be because I don't have the credentialing or experience in one aspect of that thing. And I have not announced what that thing is because of that fear of being awkward, of being in this space and not having the credentialing to be in this space, but constantly talking about being in that space. Listen, I know it sounds like a ramble, but I promise you, it's not. And if you are in this space, this mindset with me, then you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm feeling. So let's talk a bit more about being awkward because you are leaving behind comfort and pushing yourself into a new space. Let's talk about that. Okay, so There are a couple of reasons I feel awkward, like I mentioned, but the first one is, like I said, the credentialing, which isn't required to do what I'm doing, but it's a part of a passion project related to what I'm doing. I sound like I'm just leaving y'all with a whole bunch of riddles, right? Like my grandma say, it'll get better, it'll make sense by and by, right? Just give it time to unfold, and when you refer back to this video, you'll be like, oh, that's what she was talking about, or you'll be like, oh, she's still crazy and ambiguous. But anyway, the main reason is a part of the brand that I'm developing. It does not require me to be this thing, but I really want to be this thing, because that's where I was supposed to stop. In my next career path, I was supposed to be this thing, right? That was it. And then it felt like God was like shaking me, like, baby girl, I know you want to stop here at point B, but we have to travel to point triple Z. So I'm going to need you to strap up your boots and let's march. So I want this thing. I want it to go from A to B. That's it. And so B requires credentialing. But God is like, with this bigger vision, I want you to do more. And I want you to think beyond that thing, because that credentialing is so small, y'all. It's so small. And the only reason, honestly, I do not have it is because this pivot has strained me financially. And investing into that thing is the only thing that's holding me back. Once I invest into that thing, the credentialing is like that, okay? But it's interesting because I have to think beyond that. The comfort zone was A to B. Get the credential, do the thing, stop there. That was comfortable. I feel like God is stretching me and saying, I don't want you to get comfortable in B, because you won't go past B. And that's not what I want for you. I want you at triple Z. So I need you to go beyond that. I need you to think bigger than that. And so I think part of the reason why I have not been able to gather the resources to do just A to B is because I'll stop there. And I'm in the phase of my life where I cannot be so short-sighted. I have to go beyond that. And so it makes me feel awkward that I'm in this space, serving this audience, doing this thing, and I don't have that credential, which again is not required for the bigger picture. For the smaller picture, my A to B path, it is required, and I don't have that thing, so I just kind of feel awkward. Which leads me to point 2 of why I feel awkward. That nasty little imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is a sneaky, nasty, raggedy, ratchet little thing. Bald-headed scallywag. Heifer of sorts. Imposter syndrome is a heifer. Because what it's saying is you don't feel comfortable in the skin you're in the place that you're in. And every time you're showing up, you're not supposed to be there. You're not supposed to be doing this thing. You're not supposed to. That's what imposter syndrome is in a nutshell, right? But the root, I believe, the root of imposter syndrome is because you are stepping outside of a comfort zone. Here's what I mean. In my 20-year career as a writer, couldn't nobody tell me I wasn't a writer. I don't care if I didn't pick up a pen or a pencil in months. I don't care if I didn't have a best-selling book. I don't care if nobody paid me to write. I was still a writer. You could not take that from me, right? I was still that thing. And so there was never any imposter syndrome related to that thing. It didn't matter the action or the result of what I did. I knew that I was doing that. I was comfortable as a writer. In this new space, I feel like everybody's about to snatch my wig and call me the bald-headed scallywag. Instead of the imposter syndrome being the bald-headed scallywag, I'm gonna be the bald-headed scallywag, because people are gonna snatch my wig telling me I'm not the thing that I think I am. But that's all internal, y'all. Ain't nobody do that to me. Nobody has done that, and nobody will do that. That's a lot of audacity to do that, to tell somebody they're not who they think they are. That's a lot of audacity and a lot of transference of energy and guilt and insecurity. We're not going to go down that road because that's not on my notes. But imposter syndrome is on my notes. And it makes me feel awkward because the more and more I build, the more and more I think, the more and more I lay the firm foundation for this new brand and this new career direction, the more and more I'm like, oh my God, I need to crawl back into myself because nobody's going to believe me. Nobody's going to believe my reputation, my credibility, my ability to do this thing. But the truth is, like I said in the last video, God knew this day was going to come and prepared me a long time ago with skills, talents, and abilities to do this thing and capacity to do it. So it's not them, it's me. I'm making myself shrink and feel like an imposter. Nobody is snatching my wig. All right, so that's number 2. Let's go to number 3. The other reason I feel awkward is because I also feel too old. And too old is very relative and subjective. You know, obviously, I'm not too old. I think too old means like you are on the brink of death. And even then, you still got a fighting chance. But I'm not there. I am not decrepit, immobile, and I have all of the mental capacity to do the things that I do. But I think this temporary instability makes me feel like I'm too old to be trying something new. I need to try something true. I need to try something that works because at my big age, I need to focus on stability and maintenance versus risk and innovation. But I know that's just a trap. That's a mindset trap, right? And a lot of successful entrepreneurs, if I can find the stat, I'm going to put it up here. But a lot of successful entrepreneurs build in their 40s. I am 42. And I could be on the brink of something monumental. And I could really like do myself a disservice by looking at my age as a hindrance. It is not a hindrance. But it makes me feel awkward because if you put me right now in a room full of my peers, men and women my age, I'm going to look around the room and I'm going to be like, oh, these people are already well established in what they do. They have the results. They have the this, that, and the other. Don't know them from a can of paint, Adam and Eve. Don't know them. But that imposter syndrome, that bald-headed scallywag, that heifer imposter syndrome paired with feeling too old, paired with not having the credential that I want to have, that's not absolutely necessary to have to do the work that I do, makes me feel out of place. And thus, I feel awkward. But guess what, y'all? On the flip side of feeling awkward, I'm doing it anyway. I'm pivoting anyway. I'm moving forward anyway. And the world will just have to catch up and deal with it. That's where we are with that. Okay. So next in my notes, right? Because that level of vulnerability to tell the world via YouTube, you know, why I feel awkward in my next phase. Hold on, let's adjust. Okay. Why I feel awkward in my next phase also requires me to explain why I'm doing it anyway. And why I'm doing it anyway is much larger. It's much more significant and much more powerful than the awkward phase, right? So the first thing that I have is I'm holding myself accountable. I think I mentioned this in my first video, but usually when I make my introductions in a professional space so people can understand where I'm coming from, I say I'm an ENTJ Virgo, right? So with that, there's a lot of things with that. And one of them is you ain't got to worry about accountability with me, right? I'm going to do what I do. I'm going to say what I say, and I'm going to own up to both parts of it, good or bad. Self-accountability, right? That's external accountability. I will do that to other people. Self-accountability is much heavier because I have to answer to myself as to why something didn't go as planned or didn't go any farther than my mind, and why I didn't say or do or show up the way I needed to for myself. So a part of the reason that, yes, I'm acknowledging I feel awkward, but I'm doing it anyway, is to hold myself accountable, to say, you said you wanted this better life, this bigger life, to live out your ultimate dreams. And in order to do that, you got to do this hard, awkward work. No matter what phase you're in, you got to do it. So I'm holding myself accountable. The other part of why I'm doing it anyway is I have to silence my inner critic. My inner critic. So I kind of feel like imposter syndrome and a negative inner critic, they're twins. If they're not twins, they like cousins, best friends. Now they closer than cousins. Best friends, I don't know, but they're hand in hand. And I need to shut that heifer up too. So imposter syndrome and my inner critic need to sit down somewhere and be quiet. They need to sit in a corner and think about themselves. The inner critic, Shannon's inner critic, is constantly telling her she could have done it better, differently, bigger, smaller, louder, more quiet. It's constantly telling me the opposite of what I'm doing. That if I've done something really big, my inner critic is like, girl, you should have minimized that. If I've done something really loudly, it's telling me you should have been a little bit more quiet. So it's constantly telling me the opposite of what I've done, which makes me feel so wrong all the time. And I need her to shut up. I have to reclaim my power and my potential. I feel like the first phase of my pivot, where I was grieving so hard and I felt so vulnerable and so weak, took away a lot of my power and identity. And I need to reclaim that, because I personally think I'm a very externally powerful person. And I want that back. Not to exert power on other people, but to walk in power and to believe in power and to operate in power. I don't want to shrink myself and minimize myself anymore. The next thing is, it's the perfect time in my life for a change. So a few moments ago, right, I'm saying that I'm too old for this. And now I'm like, it's the perfect time in my life. And I'm pivoting anyway because it's the perfect time for a number of reasons. My kids are older. When I started my first career 20 years ago, it was more like 21 years ago, my baby was a legit baby, newborn era, 6 weeks. That's when I started my career, like as a career, no longer as a hobby. And my oldest is now 21 years old. My youngest is 14 years old, and they're some kids in between. They're old enough. They are a little more self-sufficient. They can do things on their own. Mommy doesn't have to wipe noses and change diapers. They don't need me as much. And so that makes this the perfect time to do this, because finally I can reclaim my power and my time and my identity without it being so steadily, consistently, deeply attached to my children and having to do everything for them. And like I said, I'm preparing for a bigger plan. Like all of this, the reason I'm doing this anyway, despite feeling awkward, despite that heifer imposter syndrome and her ugly twin sister, the inner critic, I'm ready for bigger, bigger. I think that my first career showed me what's possible, because everybody told me that what I was doing was not possible. Everybody told me I was very smart, very capable, and they wished me well, but they thought the box was this big for me and that I would grow in that box and do very well for myself in that box. Maybe I blew the box open and I proved to everybody that it was totally possible to do things. I even proved to myself that it was totally possible to survive based on that type of career. But now I want bigger. I want bigger than any box I've ever seen or anyone has ever tried to put me in, including myself. I want bigger. And so I have to go through this awkward phase of pivoting, not knowing where I'm going, simply because what I know on the other side is way bigger than what I've ever imagined. And I just have to navigate through this stuff. So, some lessons that I'm learning as I pivot through and with awkwardness is I'm stretching, I'm bending, but I'm not breaking. Ooh, ambulance, hold on. Hold, please. Okay, we're back. I always like get teary eyed and want to cry whenever I hear a fire truck or an ambulance. Is that just me? Do y'all experience that too? Like, I know somebody's having an emergency and it just makes me feel a certain way. All right, and it was a very long siren and ambulance. Back to what I was saying. I'm stretching, I'm bending, I'm not breaking. So I'm okay. We're good. We're okay, Shannon. Keep going. It might be uncomfortable. You know how you get that stretch out? You need that stretch. Everything is tightening up and it hurts. But that stretch, it hurts too, but it feels good. That's kind of where I am. So I'm stretching and sometimes it hurts, but I know it's building mobility. I know that it's loosening the things that were restricted. And so I'm okay. I'm okay. Okay, it was another set of sirens. You might hear some residual of it in the background. I'm trying not to. I think whatever's happening is happening in proximity to me. So sorry if you hear some remnants of sirens. The next part is you can always find an excuse or an exit. Like, it's real easy no matter what you're doing, especially while you're pivoting. While you're in the middle of making a major transformation, you can always find an exit or an excuse. I remember when I started my fitness journey again, I think I injured myself. I was really, really sore and I injured myself. And some other things happened. And the exit and the excuse were right there. I could have stopped. I could have stopped. I could have rightfully blamed it on injury. I could have rightfully blamed it on a whole bunch of things. And I could have stopped. And I never would have made the progress that I've made. I am so happy with the progress that I've made. That's neither here nor there, but it is because through all of this stuff that I've been going through mentally, the gym has been like my sanctuary. I was not going there specifically to reach a goal. It was more of to get back in movement and flexibility and mobility and, to tone. But I didn't really have a goal in mind. I used to be a gym rat. I used to love it. And it's really my mental sanctuary. But as a result of not quitting, in a 2 month span, I dropped pounds, I dropped inches, I dropped pants sizes. I am much stronger. I feel so much better. And I just look back and I'm like, if you would have stopped day 3 when you hurt yourself really badly, like I was walking around with a cane, like it was really badly. If you would have stopped then, would you be where you are now? Even though you didn't know where you were going to be, you didn't have a real goal in mind, you knew that there would be benefits. Would you be here? And I wouldn't. I honestly wouldn't. I might be worse off. But pushing through that and past that and not looking for the excuse and the exit got me some pretty freaking fantastic results that I'm so proud of. So if I can do that on that scale with my fitness, how many different scales can I do that on? If I can just push past the discomfort, yes, it hurts, yes, it's sore. If I can remedy those things and push past it, in 90 days, will I be able to look back and be like, well, doggone, look at what you did. Look at what you accomplished just by not looking for the exit sign. Speaking of which, on my notes, I say, you keep asking for signs. You keep asking for signs. Please tell me if this is the right path. Please tell me if I'm doing the right thing. But if you don't have good discernment, all you will see is exit signs. You will see every off ramp, every opportunity to leave and change your mind and go in a different direction. if you don't have discernment, right? If you don't say, I see that exit, but that's not the path I'm going. I'm looking for the sign that tells me this is the opportunity you want, not this is the escape you want. Just thought I'd give you that good old analogy. um, Also, I'm not waiting for people to validate my decision or validate my progress. The interesting thing about this YouTube channel so far is that it's performing poorly. It is straight up trash. At this point, on recording on in September of 2025. And that could validate that what I'm saying is trash, my aesthetics are trash, my message is trash, my quality is trash. It could validate so many bad things. And as much as YouTube is about sharing value with audience, I can't let that validate the other reasons I'm doing this. Do I need YouTube to pick up and to do better and to perform? Yes. Do I need likes and subscribes and comments? Which, by the way, if you haven't and you see this video, do that thing for me, please. Please. Yes, because it's a part of a lot of different plans. But if I look at my results today, if I read my analytics today, and they continue to look like they've looked for the past 2 videos, I would just stop. And I can't stop because I owe myself so much more. And I truly believe that the value of my message and what I'm sharing with you will find its intended audience in due time. Right now, I'm just in practice mode. And that's the way I have to look at it. Would I like to go viral and reach all the subscriber hours and all the things I need to do to get monetized? Absolutely. Because I also need to pay for the credential I'm talking about, but in due time. And it's okay because I can't let those analytics validate that I'm walking in this direction for a bigger reason. So there's that on that. All right. So about this pivot, I know that I told you guys that I can't tell you what I'm doing because of a lot of different reasons. So I'm going to tell you this. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on LinkedIn. You should get some hints as to what I'm doing. And you should get some hints about the credential I'm seeking. And if not, then in the next video, I will tell you. It is my goal to move in that direction of that credential as fast as possible. Like I said, if I had the means to do it today, I would do it today, right? But I know timing. I am trusting God's timing of when and why it is not happening the way I plan it to be because I'm still moving forward. I have not let that stop me. But I'm doing something major, and for a major community that I'm so connected with by default and by purpose and on purpose. And I'm so excited about it. So this might be the last series in this installment of my Pivot Diaries as I move into the next installment of what's going on in this channel. So we'll see. And according to my content plan, this is the last video in the Pivot Diaries installment 1. We'll see. But I just want to say that if you are going through a pivot and you are scared, nervous, feeling awkward, or them bald-headed scallywags, imposter syndrome, and inner critic are showing up to your party unannounced and they ain't even bring anything. They got their cups, but they ain't shipping. Keep going. You will be so happy 90 days post pivot. You will have learned a lot about yourself. You will have learned a lot about the path you're taking, whether it's right now or it's wrong. You will learn something through this pivot. I certainly am. I'm learning so much more about myself, even though I don't have the results I'm looking for. What I've learned in this is 6 weeks post pivot. what I've learned in this phase about myself, I'm very, very proud of. I'm very, very proud of. So that's it for this video. Please continue to show up and support my journey. If this is your first time meeting me, hello. And if you've met me before and you're like, okay, Shannon, you're on to something new. Hello again. Don't forget to like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to comment. Let me know where you are in your pivot journey. And if you feel awkward, tell me below. Do you feel awkward? And what are you doing to get past that awkward phase? And don't forget to subscribe because I want you to be a part of this journey. I really want you to see this. And I think that's it. That's all. Yeah, I think that's it. That's all. So until the next video, friends, bye.